Hi everyone, I continue assembling Quadra V-Tech from Cyberpunk 2077. In the previous part, we finished making the composite bumper and installed the rear optics in place. The muffler was also removed higher so that the exhaust pipes became closer to the bumper. In this series, I want to continue working on the back. I'm gonna make the bump stops and filters that are located under the muffler. I'll also make an active rear spoiler with variable geometry. I'll start my work from the bump stop. It's gonna fulfill purely decorative function, as this car will unlikely be able to stand on its rear wheels. For the same reason, it makes no sense to make it out of metal and increase the Quadra's weight. I cut two foam details on the CNC machine according to the 3D model. Since the bump stop consists of 4 identical elements, it makes sense to make a detail matrix for them. The details should be prepared before manufacturing the matrix. The foam plastic was coated with an epoxy resin to stiffen and protect it from the polyester putty. Then I covered the detail with prime coat and primed the surface. After treatment with sandpaper, we got a finished master model from which we need to remove the matrix. Since it's very difficult to align the surface with putty, I decided to align the second part of the detail with sculptural plasticine on a trial basis. Also, with its help I refined the hole in the coated part. Both right and left halves are ready, now we need to take off the matrices from them. I glued the details onto the flat surface of PVC plastic and concealed all the cracks with plasticine. Then I covered the detail with a separating wax, and just in case, I put a separating spirit on top, which eventually turned out to be redundant. Still, I never learned to work with it, cause there's nothing better than wax. A homemade gel coat for the matrix will be made of polyester filler diluted with polyester resin. I added a hardener and applied gel coat with a brush to the model. After gel coat drying, I stiffened the matrix with a fiberglass. The first layer was thin. After drying, I removed all the irregularities with the sandpaper and put the second layer of fiberglass. After the epoxy resin had hardened, the master model was pulled out of the matrix. I was taking the model out by the piece, still everything separated very easily. It turned out differently as compared to the last time with the body. Before the detail manufacturing, we should apply a separative wax to the matrix. A homemade gel coat will also be engaged. After the gel coat had hardened, I applied the fiberglass to it. Now we can extract the finished detail from the matrix. Seems not bad, and since there's already a layer of putty on the surface, all the flaws can be easily removed with the sandpaper. In the same way, I made the remaining 4 right and 4 left details. I cut off the entire fringe with an angle grinder and attached the details to each other. As a result, there turned out a very large gap between the details. I'll align their edges with the plywood and the sandpaper. I glued the elements between each other with the resin and tightened them with self-cutting screws. After that, the seam was removed with the putty. Now we need to sandpaper all the details and cover with the primer. Before attaching them in place, we need to make a tow hook or a hitch. It'll be made of metal and do its part. All the dimensions were taken from the original 3D model. I decided not to weld the stiffener bar in the form of a shaped tube inside the construction, cause I think this should be a plenty. I want to place the tow hook on the subframe. There are exactly 4 holes in it. For this purpose, I welded a pair of hangers to the construction. The construction is fixed. Everything fit perfectly and the muffler won't touch the tow hook. I decided to fix the previously made bump stops on this construction. They'll be held in place by the help of the hanger made of a pipe half. I assembled everything together and welded into its place. Now to complete the picture, we need to make replicas of an oily and air filter. I printed these items on a 3D printer. I made the wall thin, since I will strengthen all these details from the inside. I'll start assembling the air filter first. Before pasting the cover, I'm gonna strengthen the filter cell from the inside with the homemade gel coat. As the putty is already mixed with fiberglass, the strength will be sufficient. The gel coat will also close all pores between the layers and the detail will become sealed. By the way, I decided to open the base and treat the inside with thin putty. We got a solid rigid detail. After that, I pasted the modified cover and the upper branch pipe. We still have to fill everything outside with a thick layer of the filling primer. I made all the elements using the same technology. I found a place to attach the filters and made some hangers for them from a steel strip. Those filters make the back of Quadra looks almost like a 3D gaming model. I'm done with the bottom. Now I want to busy myself with an active rear spoiler or so-called motorized anti-wing. I tried to cut the side parts on the CNC machine, but it didn't work out very well somehow. Rather complex multifaceted detail. It makes sense to print it on the 3D printer and strengthen the plastic with fiberglass from the inside. I covered details with the gel coat from the in and outside. After drying, I glued everything from the inside with the fiberglass. An extra thick layer was made in the place of the wings attachment. I cut off excess fiberglass and glued those parts together. I additionally covered the detail with a thin layer of fiberglass from the outside. Then I removed all the irregularities with putty and primed the surface. The details got temporarily fixed to the body with self-tapping screws. I kept them by the laser level. I'll make a bridge between the side elements from a shaped tube. Now the entire construction should be closed with the fiberglass. It's rather convenient to cover the frame with some fabric first and only then apply a glass fiber mat on it. Before gluing the glass, I soaked the fabric in epoxy resin and let it harden. While the resin was hardening, I started making the wings. The wing axis will be made of the profile pipe. The wings will be attached using such a mechanism. I cut a segment at the end of the profile. There'll be inserted a bolt and will be welded 2 nuts. The wing will be inserted into the main part of the spoiler and mounted with screws. I printed such kind of bushings for them. They'll be glued into the side parts. The rest of the wing was made of the same shaped tube. Now this construction looks more like the flaps of an airplane. The upper wing was made the same way. In order for the flaps to work in a pair, we need to make a pair of levers. The hangers for the levers were made of the steel plate. They'll be attached to the upper wing. I cut out the rectangular openings for levers in the body. The levers ourselves will be made of textilite. I cut them on the CNC machine. The lever will be attached to the lower wing by means of the sharpened nuts according to the internal size of the tube. The mechanics is ready. Now we need to close the flaps framework with the fiberglass and align the surface of the main part of the spoiler. While the details were drying, I reduced the deck lid as it touched the spoiler approach. For this purpose, I transferred the frame pipe and the lock mechanism. Now we can return everything to its place. In the meantime, I'm gonna use the linear actuator to check the mechanics. But eventually it should be replaced with a servo motor. The automatics can be done by connecting the servo motor to the velocity sensor, or for example it can be arranged for the flaps to rise up while pressing the brake and additionally slow down with an airflow. And that is all for today. Thanks everyone for your attention. If you liked this video, then put your likes and help sharing this video. See you in the next part.